Praise the Lord. You may be seated. I often say at the beginning of my message, and I mean it, it could sound like a habitual statement, but I'm happy to be a Christian. There's no part of the Christian experience I am ashamed of. I am not in hiding. I am not trying to obscure what I believe, but I am actually proud of Jesus this morning, and I'm proud of all that He has done. I proudly stand by what He taught us to the best of my understanding. I'm not ashamed of it, and I'm happy this morning just to be a Christian. I believe in the Scriptures. I believe in all of them. And I love them. And I have decided to stake my eternity on the Scriptures and live and die and rise and fall on the merits of the Scriptures. And I do that not ignorantly, but I do it willfully. I do it happily, and I'll say that if there is a part of the Scripture that I fail to understand, which is very possible, the moment that I can be helped to understand it, it is my great joy to adjust and readjust and do whatever is necessary. It's not a drudgery. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed. I am hard-headed, but this hard head can change. When I see that if I'm in crossways, Brother O'Shea, with the Scripture, this hard head will change. It'll still be hard. It'll just be hard in another course. And I love the Holy Scriptures, and I mean that. I really, really mean that. I realize that there perhaps are many people who would say that, and perhaps many people mean it, and there would be some who really don't. But I do. I really, really do. I'm not just saying that. There have been times, actually not a few, that I have found myself sideways with the Scriptures. And I've done what I've needed to do to figure out how to get right. It's kind of like, you ever try to rub a cat backwards? Like start from its tail and rub up to its head? Cats don't like that. You know what they do? They'll actually get up and turn around. Well, I'm glad to at least have enough sense as a cat. And I don't like cats, but I've got enough sense as a cat. When the gospel comes along and starts rubbing me backwards, I don't try to change the gospel. I figure out how to get turned around so to rub me right. I know that the gospel's not going to change for me. Neither is it going to change for you. And it won't change for the whole world if the whole world was backwards. The gospel is forever settled in heaven. And it's up to us as individuals to align ourselves with the truth of God's Word and do that happily. There is no greater liberty, there's no greater joy than the joy and the pleasure of being at one with God. I know what it is to have a happy marriage. I know what it is to have a beautiful wedding day. I know what it is to have a firstborn son. Those are joys that are pretty hard to find the words to properly describe. But I'll say that in the light of that, those joys are lessened or are made of no joy. I'll speak like the Apostle Paul did, of no joy at all, in the light of the joys of being at one with God. I love the Lord. I'm not a preacher by profession. I'm just a preacher. And you might not like me, and that may be okay, and it may not be okay. But on my behalf, it's okay. And I've long time ago gave up the idea of everybody liking me. And it used to be that I thought everybody liked me. Even those who didn't like the saints, they'd always say, but Brother Ray, he's good. But then I came to a time in my life that even Brother Ray got bad. And it hurt a little bit, but then I got over that hurt. And I'm a stronger, more calloused Christian than ever before. Happy to be here in Warsaw this morning. This is northern Indiana. There's things that could be said about northern Indiana. I love Indiana. I was born and raised in Indiana, not right here, somewhere south of here a good piece, but I was born and raised in Indiana. I even now only live within 1 mile of the Indiana border. I was one of those, those apples that didn't fall far from the tree, I guess. Something about northern Indiana, I think that someone ought to say something about sometime. And I love everybody. Now, 2 other things I want to say before I get into this. If you are new here, you are visiting, I think we have some visitors. We love you. We're so glad you're here. What I'm about to do this morning is not really our typical. And if you don't like it, just don't like me, but like everybody else here. Because I'm going to, I know, but I'm just going to say it anyway. And if you like everybody else here, eventually you might like me. Yes. All right. All right. We have been called all kinds of names. Go ahead. All right. Come on. And go ahead, brother. For many, many years, we have been silent on all the accusations that have been said about us. And when I say silent, I mean very silent. Yes, sir. We have continued to preach Calvary. We've continued to preach prophecy. We've continued to preach the love of Christ. And the Lord's given us reward for that. Souls have found Him. And we have spent many of our days in traveling. And I'm not trying to give you some credentials of me, but I'm trying to tell you the privileges that I've had. I've spent most of my life from about age 15, 16 to the present in traveling the world. I think I'm somewhere around 35 different countries. Many of those countries I have visited multiple times. It was a little funny. We received, I'm going to stop right there and say that I'm thankful. Is there a camera here? Is that camera running tonight? Running? Let it show that Brother Randy Hargrave, Brother Steve's here. Just point on him a little bit. Just anybody's in question. We love Brother Apostle Hargrave, Randall Hargrave, and Apostles Steve Hargrave. There may not be anybody that's more knit and closer in heart and in every way than the three of us. Let the camera show that beside him sits the Apostle Jacob Braun. Yes, the Apostle Jacob Braun. That's right. That's right, brother. Amen. Brother Benjamin is out there right in the doorway doing his business, whatever that was and is. I could imagine, but Apostle Tofstiga, we're happy you're here. Apostle Opal, yes, Northern Indiana has a woman apostle. Yes, sir. Right in the middle of anti-neo-Republican, I'll be careful. We are happy for Apostle Patrick O'Shea that's here. Brother Patrick, we love you. I don't think Brother Addison is here with us now. He was last night. We have some significant brethren in the house. Brother John Strizu, brother. I love you so much. We're glad you're here. Brother Thomas Tofstiga, Brother Johnny O'Shea. There's Brother Benjamin. Don't you like him singing? He's a preacher too. And he mixes it all up sometimes. And that makes it really, really good. The brethren, we're happy that we were here. Happy for what we have done. Now I'll go back to what I was saying. I received some messages because of all the people that say things about us. We're a cult. Did you all know that? I mean, according to what is said, we're a cult. That's C-U-L-T, cult. And I am the cult leader. I'm this mean, bad cult leader. At least to those who don't know me. Maybe to some who know me. So we received these messages. We got one on Christmas morning, kind of a threatening message to us. Then we got one a little bit later, someone who doesn't know us, obviously doesn't know us. It was a little funny, and left us a message and said, you know, while you're basically saying our heads were in the sand, we ain't traveling nowhere, I'm out traveling and enjoying the world and seeing different places in the world. What he doesn't know is that I have been a platinum elite member with Delta Airlines before Delta Airlines was Delta. And before that, I was platinum elite with Northwest Airlines. You young ones don't even know there used to be a thing called Northwest Airlines, but there used to be. And some years ago, Delta and Northwest merged and dropped the name Northwest and have Delta. That means that I have traveled the minimum of 75,000 miles per year. I would have made diamond this year. I'd have been diamond elite this year. That's the highest. Used to be platinum as the highest, but I would have been diamond, but I didn't quite spend enough money. They want you to spend a certain amount of money on tickets, and if you buy too many economy tickets, they keep you down a little lower. And I have traveled to approximately, I have a reason for saying this. Don't you think I'm up here, I'm out of my mind. You just bear with me. This is my meeting. I can kind of do what I want. I believe I'm at 35 countries, I think. Something like that. I think my wife maybe has an exact number, but I believe it's 35 countries. And I believe I've been in Kenya, Africa. I honestly don't remember. It's somewhere between 20 and 22 times or 23 times. Traveled various places throughout Asia, Europe, the Middle East, South America, Central America. I've been in every state of the Union except 2. And I think it's a little funny when people think that I'm just a little redneck that doesn't know what's going on. Now, somebody could think that, and that's okay, but it's a little funny to me. Because it's just not true. I would like to take the opportunity this morning. First of all, I might need to learn how, and I'm actually trying to. I am not a social media, what do you call them? Gurus? I don't know what they're called. You know, some people can't eat their dinner without taking a picture and posting it on social media. I don't understand. I'm just telling you, I don't understand that. I guess there's a reason for that, but I don't understand that. Or they'll go to Walmart to do shopping and they'll take a picture. I'm here at Walmart shopping, and I think, I don't really understand that. I guess some people may understand, but I don't. I don't know how to do that. If I do it, it'll be because I need to do it and I must do it. But there's nothing a part of me that wants to do it. I have no reason. I despise that. But I tell you what I am familiar with. And that is the pulpit. And if I could be so bold to say, as I own the pulpit. Now, there might be some folks that own Twitter and own Facebook and TikTok and those kinds of things, and they know how to talk. But for Brother Ray, I own the pulpit. And there's times when individuals feel like there's a necessity for them to get out and do their thing on whatever, these TikTok and Facebook and whatever. And then there's some times when I feel like I need to necessarily do things. And I'm more likely to use the pulpit than I am these other means. Somebody might say, well, now the pulpit should only be reserved to talking about Calvary and Jesus. But when I open my Bible, I find out that there's some space taken in the Holy Scriptures that names out people's names. There have been times when the apostles of the Morning Time Church found it necessary to actually name out things that was going on, people who fought against them, and they gave these people names. Yes, they did. And we find that these names have made themselves into what we know as today the Holy Bible, or the Word of God, the inspired Word of God. And we would not be deviating from those principles now. I am not one to do a bunch of talking about people, even telling the truth when it's not necessary. I know this is a little different, a little wild, but just charge it all to me. I can do it. But there are some individuals who have made themselves known. That at the mentioning of my name, of their name, would not be the first time that it is mentioned in a public manner, for they are themselves very public, or an attempt to be very public in their form of social media, or however they do that. We're not talking about somebody who I might disagree with, and then I make a public figure out of someone that I privately disagree with. There's principally something wrong with that. I wouldn't do that. I can actually disagree with somebody and still be their friends, and we can do things together. But then there's other people who make themselves public, and they portray a picture that is absolutely inaccurate. Absolutely inaccurate. And then sometimes it's of necessity that we, for the love of mankind, we say, now, this thing that is portrayed to you is not really accurate. And this was the case that we even find in the Bible. Now, interesting that the word cult is used. It would be interesting to me to hear some of these people's definition of what is a cult. What is a cult? They call us a cult probably for a few reasons, but probably I would assume that the main reason that we're called a cult is because we have leaders. Leaders of which they despise. Leaders of that actually those within the church listen to, adhere to, and follow the instructions thereof. And somehow that becomes scary. Though the people that are screaming cults happen probably to work for someone else who tells them to show up to work at a set time that they can only eat their lunch at a set time. They can only be there so long and must check out at a set time. And that they're only allowed or must do certain things within their job description, nothing more and nothing less. And if the same definition is carried across the board, it sounds like to me they are working for a cult. And the only way to free themselves from a cult is they need to get out of the public work sector and work for themselves. But even working for themselves, they'll find out that some of their customers are cult leaders. And they'll find out that they can only do certain things for their customers and nothing more, and at certain times, and things are regulated and things are done, and all of a sudden they'll find out that they're a cult. Right. And then all of a sudden, every 4 years, they become active in electing their own cult leaders who set governments and governors and pass and laws that govern their every life. I'm going to talk about money, Brother Byram, in about a minute. But somehow when it comes to religion, all of a sudden, I'm a God to myself. Nobody can tell me what to do. I do what's right in my own mind. And if you attempt to think that you can tell me something, you're all of a sudden a cult. If that is the definition of a cult, and this is a little clip they would like to take from me right now, but I'm going to give you the clip. If that is the definition of cult, I plead guilty, and I hope that I have enough evidence to prove me guilty. If that is a cult, there's been no greater cult leader than Jesus Christ himself. They don't like, maybe one of the next things they don't like is our stance on money. Yes, I said money. Yes, brother. That's those George Washingtons, Abraham Lincolns, Andrew Jacksons, and who's on the $100 bill? Ben Franklin. Is he on the $100 bill? And Ben Franklin's. I missed one. I don't know who I missed, but you know what I'm talking about. You have in your wallet, I would assume, pictures of cult leaders, according to this definition. And you're getting up and working hard to get more pictures of cult leaders. Just bear with me a little bit. And these cult leaders, and I'm using the term as they're using the term, I'm not speaking so much of myself. These cult leaders have built up institutions to require you to give back a part of your hard-earned money to certain systems. And if you would just choose not to give them back, you'll lose everything. Your electricity will be turned off. The property that you've worked hard and paid off, and whether that's taken you years or you paid cash, if you don't pay it up, they'll take it away from you, and it won't take long. That's right. You can say, but I earned this. I got up. I worked it with my own fingers. I worked hard. I bought this piece of land. But just try paying not your taxes. Then they come along out of their kindness of their hearts. They're much benevolent. I can't even say it. They're much benevolence. And they put together things like 401ks and IRAs, Roth, the IRA, the traditional IRA, and I wasn't born yesterday. I know what's in the world. And if you give money into this thing and you do it enough, You can make yourself a good retirement, and you need to, because the taxes that you're paying in Social Security to the government that you have to pay won't be enough for you when you get old. You'll pay 15% of everything you make. You can't take anything off of it. Now, you can deduct on other things, but you won't on that one. But when you get old, it won't carry you through.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
My mother-in-law gets somewhere around $900 a month from Social Security. And I don't know if you've looked around any time recently, but if it wasn't because she had a good son-in-law, Brother Bill, you might as well say it about myself.
Yes, brother. Yeah. That's all right.
Who's taken her in,
That's all right, brother.
and she lives with me for free.
Yes,
She doesn't pay any light bills. She doesn't pay any insurance. She does have a car. She pays it, and that's it. If it wasn't for that, she would be in a destitute condition. Because you can't pay rent. You can't pay your electric bill. You can't pay your gas bill, your trash bill, and buy food on $900 a month.
That's right. That's right, brother.
If you can, I'd like to see you do it. That is approximately $8,400 a year. You'll probably spend every penny of that plus a little in rent alone.
That's right. Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just follow me. So then they put together a plan where we all put our money together in some form or fashion. IRAs and 401ks, and you put money and we'll put money, and this money will add up. And now you can, if you try to get it, we'll penalize you. You can't get it until certain times. But you know we control this. But when you reach a certain age, then you can get a portion of it at a time. We give a little portion. You have a portion here and a portion. If you get out too much, and all of a sudden we're going to take some back away from you because we want you to spread this out. And all of a sudden, and that's beautiful. Until we put together our own financial things and we decide, wait a minute, we don't want to be a part of that. We'll put together our own community, and all of a sudden, these people are putting their money, they're invested in one another. This is a terrible cult.
Come on, brother. Come on.
I say, you hypocrites.
Yes, sir.
Your money is going to support agendas that you yourself deplore and hate. Building up political parties, and I don't care if they say they're right or left, they're all in the same boat.
That's right, brother. That's right. Amen. Right.
And you're proud to do it, happy to do it, feel like you're really accomplished if you did it. And look at us and call us a cult. We've been accused of drug dealing. We have. And child trafficking. It's all on the internet. Not because they've ever seen any drugs. Not because we look very drug. I'm trying to be nice. But they just don't know how we get our money.
Sure.
We just bought this building from the Anderson Church of God people, and how do we get our money? Well, it just must be drugs. Really? Really? Okay. Spoke a little bit yesterday. I knew I kind of wanted to preach this message, and sometimes, you get a little ahead of yourself. And yesterday I made mention of something I want to say again. You poor young people that are in this room, you're in this terrible, oppressive, you're oppressive cult. I'm so sorry for you.
Come on now.
As soon as you turn 18, we'll be there to catch you. We love you. This oppressive cult. You've traveled. If I had a little time, I'd just let you get up and tell us all the countries you've been to. You've been on airplanes. You've flown all over the world. Some of you are about to leave and go to Banff, Alberta to do skiing on some of the world's most renowned ski resorts. You going, Brother Abraham, aren't you, brother? I was going to go, brother, and I just backed out of it because I'm no skier. You see me skiing, and you know why I backed out. But the fellowship is nice anyway. It's one of the most world-renowned ski resorts. I'm just talking, just a little bit, Brother Steve. I'm doing all right, brother?
You're doing well.
All right.
I like it.
Go hiking in some of the most beautiful places all over the world. Some people think that all you've ever done has been taught to read and pray, and you don't know anything else but read and pray. Now, we proudly have taught you to read and pray, but come on now. Many of you speak multiple languages. You have been through and around multiple different kind of cultures. You might live in northern Indiana, but you're not really a northern Indiana culture. Or at least you're not limited to the northern Indiana ideology. Come on now. Some of you like to fish. You've been out deep sea fishing. I'm talking about before you were old enough to be able to afford it. The church helped put money together for you. We've sent you on a mission field, but intertwined in those mission fields was a lot of fun. I got to go to I almost said Mount Sinai. But I did. I went to what they call Mount Sinai. I suppose it is. I've been there. I rode a camel up Mount Sinai. Yeah, I did.
That's good, Brother Rick.
I did.
That's good.
But I was going to say, if I've been to Mount Everest,
All right.
I doubt many of those who are crying, call has ever been to Mount Everest and may not even know where it is. They know there's a Mount Everest. They hear that it's the tallest mountain in the world. But many times, especially Americans who don't really know their geography very well, you ask them where Mount Everest is, and it's like, one person said, I think it's Russia. I said, no, it ain't Russia. We have mission posts hidden in the hills of the Austrian Alps that Thomas Kincaid, am I saying it right? Can't paint a picture more beautiful than walking out the front doors of our mission post of the Austrian Alps.
That's beautiful.
Yes, brother.
Right.
Many of you have been there.
Yes, brother.
Yes, sir.
I've taken some of you on high school field trips. We've traveled Israel. Toured Washington, D.C. I'm a pretty good Washington, D.C. tour guide. I've been there so much I'm a good guide. We're lining up one right now, working on tickets. Now the ones from Ohio are saying, Brother Ray, right now they're saying, please be quiet. Please be quiet. We want to keep this small with you, Brother Ray. Right now, I know that's what you're saying, but I'm going to tell them anyway. We're lining one up for our local school. And we're going to fly to Zurich. And then we're going to get on a train and we're going to go from Zurich. We're going to travel all the way just on the south side of the Alps. And we're going to pass through the Alps. They're going to constantly be on our left. How do I know? Because I've done it. And they're going to constantly be on our left. And we're going to go all the way into the Italian Alps. And then after we get into Italy, the train's going to turn and go south. We're going to start down south. We're going to stop in Venice.
It's a good message.
You don't even, some of you might not even know where Venice is. For sure, some of our accusers don't know where Venice is.
That's right. For sure.
But we're going to stop in Venice and we're going to spend the night and get to see what it is to have a condoli ride in Venice. I'm sorry you're so oppressed. Then we're going to get the next day, we're going to get back on it. We're going to stop by and see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That ain't much to see. I don't even know why it's famous. But because it's famous, I want you to see Leaning Tower of Pisa. This is oppressive, Brother Steve. I'm sorry we're oppressing him like this, brother. And then after we get back on the train, we're going to go on down to Rome. And we're going to spend some days in Rome. Get to walk around the city, Brother Bill. We're going to go to places like the catacombs and Archetitus and the Pantheon and I'm sorry, brother, so oppressed. It would be better at the age of 18 if you run away. Try it at 17 till you get brought back, and then try it at 18, then go run away and then go pay your bills and try to make it on your own, and you have nothing. When the weather gets cold, you don't even know how to get in and out of it. It's the truth. Let me tell you something. I'm living in a real world. And if you're going to be successful, you need all the friends you can get. I'm saying all the friends. You need mom and dad. You need grandma and grandpa. You need the friends of everybody. Even to do it right, it's tough out there. Brother, I got married. I thought I had money, Brother Bill. And a little bit later, I was like going to my brothers and my dad. I need a little money. I'm in trouble. And somehow things get all messed up in people's minds. And they think, well, I'm just so restricted. I'm so restricted. And I think, restricted over what? And then I think, oh, I know what over what. I know. I know. There's one thing. There's one thing. It's called sex.
Okay. Come on, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm so oppressed. These people don't believe in sex until marriage. That's just horrible. Horrible.
Would you preach? All right. You're doing good. Doing real good. Come on, Brother Ray. Preach. Don't get quiet. Now, this is the truth. You're right, brother.
And then people go out and they get on the internet and they type in words that they shouldn't type in, and they find out there's other people out there that'll offer themselves to them for a little bit of money, and then they pay the money, and the person on the other end of the phone goes, "Hi, baby. You sexy."
Come on.
And you all of a sudden start believing them. Well, look, the saints never thought I was sexy. This person's telling me sex. Now, I just paid them $500, but they told me I'm sexy.
Sexy for 500.
I'm right, Brother Belvers. This is right. You should have seen that girl on the other line. When she saw me, she was like, "Oh, baby, hi." Or whatever they do. I never done it. But it's something like that.
Tell the truth.
I know because I know people who did.
Okay.
And they believed it. They thought I was hot stuff. I said, "How much you pay them?" $400. I said, "Well, yeah, that's why they thought you were hot stuff." I spent $400 to have you to tell me you didn't get close to me. I couldn't see you on the screen. You were, all right. Then you find out it ain't that great out there. It is not that great. It is not that great. Young people, the best sex in the world's right here. Built on real relationships, real love. It's real. It's real. It's good, and it's real when it's built on a real foundation. You might say, "Well, preacher, I don't like you saying that." I'm going to say, "I don't care. I just said it." Yeah, when they get in trouble, they'll be coming back. Oh, well, let's do it right now. This is our meeting, brother.
Young men making
We get young men before graduating. working evenings and weekends, and even working with a school, our oppressive school. You know, our oppressive school, who allows the provision for certain individuals to start I'm looking for a term. What do they call that term? Like an apprenticeship. There's another term that works. Looking for, and the apprenticeship in the school, our oppressive school. Ooh, works together with some brethren. And these young men who are wanting certain kinds of jobs, and we start them even before they graduate. Brother, they'd be walking around with thousands of dollars in their account. Brother Devin, be buying homes before they graduate.
Before they graduate.
I bought my first home at the age of 15.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
I did. My first home, I bought 2 homes at the age of 15.
That's good, brother.
You say, brother, how'd you get the loan? I didn't. I had a friend. Because they wouldn't loan me no money. You remember him, Dwayne Hobley. He loaned me the money. Oppressive.
Come on, brother.
They come out of high school. They don't go looking for a job.
No, of course.
They
No.
don't even look for one. They can actually choose any, mini, miny, mo almost.
That's good, Brother Ray.
Come on, brother.
Opportunity's great. We have people be coming to our graduations, used to more than now, be looking because they're looking for who's the graduates. I'm talking about other businesses outside of the church.
Right.
These people that leave because they get their mind messed up, most of the time they have help getting their mind messed up. Somebody starts whispering in their ear, you're missing out. Hey, I'm cool. I'm so cool. I'm a sinner now and I do whatever I want. But they don't have no money to do what they want. Truly, I know 40-year-olds who was raised here, who left us at the age of 17. I'm thinking of somebody in particular. I say 40, I think maybe they're 38 somewhere. And the only thing that they own to their name, literally, is probably a $700 or $800 car.
Yes, brother. That's right.
And that same person is actively talking to some of you, telling you how, or would, how cool it is to be in the world. And I'll suggest that we have more of the world in here. We have more of the world and worldly pleasures right here. We do.
Come on.
And what happens is we get people talking. They take advantage of a young mind who going through what changes they're going through, and they get listening to the wrong voice, and somebody's talking to them. No, we tell them, don't talk to that. And all of a sudden, see, you're oppressed. They don't want you to know the many beautiful things they're hiding from you. We ain't hiding nothing.
That's right.
We just say, look at who's talking to you. Now, if you want to be like the person talking to you, listen to them. No problem. But if you don't want to be like them, then don't listen to them. They go away, brother. These young people, they go away. They find out it ain't all about sex either. It's true. Some of them can't even get a girlfriend. And if they get one, they can't keep one. Because let me tell you something about a girlfriend. You need money.
You gotta have money. You gotta have some money.
Because, pardon me, that your physical appearance is not going to hold them. You can have some physical appearance. You might be handsome, but you better be able to have handsome pockets.
You're right, brother.
or that girlfriend going to be somebody else's girlfriend? No, that's how it works in the world. Somebody says, well, that ain't the way it is. I say, where are you coming from? I know where the world is. That's what they do. And then all of a sudden, there's an awakening. I've been duped. Mom and Dad was right after all. And now we have another mountain. A mountain of pride. It's hard to come back and say, you were right. I was wrong. Rather, there's a temptation to coming back. Well, it just didn't work out. It almost did. Just say, you were right. I was wrong. So now, this is just touching lightly of some of the things I wanted to touch on. I haven't gotten to the first note yet.
Oh, God, you're doing so good. You're doing so good.
But I'm going to continue on. What time is it? Ooh. But we ain't quitting. So if you must go, you can leave and that'll be okay. The scripture tells us that, I'm not going to turn there for the sake of time. Talks about in the harvest time. This is the 13th chapter of Matthew. And it says that the angels would do something. And these angels, we happen to believe by reading the context of the scriptures, it's not talking about celestial beings, but talking about earthly angels, human angels, that they would do two things. They would first bind in bundles the tares. And the second thing they would do is they would gather the good into vessels. And it is our responsibility to bind certain things into groups. What accusers have tried to do is act like that they are original. And that they are separate and autonomous, Brother Hargrave, from the ones laboring right next to them. Now, they'll come to us and they'll pull up some little excerpt of a little phrase that one of our young ministers have said. That maybe perhaps wasn't said perfectly. Sometimes it is said perfectly, but maybe it wasn't said perfectly. And they want me to either vouch for or against, because they're your people. But the moment you try that, they immediately become autonomous. This is just me. I'm only responsible for what I do, and what they do. That's up to them. That's their thing. But the scriptures commands us to bind into bundles, to burn. Obviously, that's not talking about physical violence at all, but it's talking about that the gospel is a fire and it burns individuals. I've been burnt. Burns individuals who need to be burned, but they first, before being burned, need to be bound together. You even have these accusers, and we're going to name some names. We have some accusers who actually accuse some of their co-laborers. They try to appear a little more righteous, Brother Bill, and they try to appear more dignified, and will actually condemn some method of what their buddy accusers are doing, and yet in spirit they have the same goal, the same desire, even believe the same things. Right. They do, Brother Steve. That's exactly what they do, but they try to appear better. And actually, they're all the same. Paul writes in his letter to Titus, he talks about people who subvert houses, talks about whose mouths must be stopped. That's in the first chapter of Titus. Jude, in his letter, in his short little letters, he talks about people who are filthy dreamers. Calls them filthy dreamers. I could preach a whole series on each one of these. Paul, in his letter to Timothy, in the very first chapter, the very first letter, he actually names out two men. He calls them Hymenaeus and Alexander. Is that the coppersmith too, or no? Alexander the coppersmith? Who he says he delivered over to Satan. That they might learn not to blaspheme. In Luke's account of what had happened in the 17th chapter of Acts, as the apostles were about to travel to another part of the country, and there was people there was Jews that began to believe, but then there was unbelieving Jews who began to stir up the people, and they stirred them up so much they went and assaulted the house of Jason. We don't even know who Jason is, but they assaulted the house of Jason and brought him in and was saying all manner, just stirring up the people, and Paul calls them lewd fellers of baser sort. Then in his second letter to Timothy, the Apostle Paul instructs him that they that live godly shall suffer persecution. Somebody came to me and asked me and said, why you all talked about worse about than anybody else? I said, well, thank you very much. That's a compliment. At least we honor 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 12. Now, the names that I'm going to name, I do it freely, I do it boldly, I do it happily, I don't do it begrudgingly, are names that are already, if you look us up on the internet and you try to research us, very likely their names will come up. I'm not putting it out there first. They have already done it. And even if that wasn't the case, I would still really have the liberty to do it because they need it. But I'm just saying that I have it, but I'm doing it for that cause. They're already out there. I've got a list of 11 names I'm going to talk about. Ben Hartley, there's a reason I name him first. He likes to pose as an intellectual. I talked to him on the phone. I have even recently, within days ago. He even likes to present himself as a very fair person, though it's extremely hypocritical. If he can't understand how it works, he doubts it exists. That's the truth. He has went from Christendom to atheism to, I don't know what he is now. Who has basically, now I don't recall if he was actually and absolutely the very first. He may have been. But if not, he is kind of the father of all the gainsaying on social media. He is responsible personally. And I have told him as much so very recently. For all the hate, all the death threats. The man that was out there just a bit ago with his sign out on the street just today, I don't know if he's still out there or not. That's his son in their faith.
That's right.
And though he hates, or would at least portray that he hates the hatred, secretly and privately, he entirely agrees. And I would say encourages. While presenting himself as a level, cool-headed savior to the problem that he created. He can be an atheist. This is America. No problem. I'm not going to his house and screaming at him. I have not started Facebooks. We haven't started Facebooks blasting him for being an atheist. We are not doing that. He does that.
That's right.
Adam Paymer is his son in their faith. Brooks Coble, who doesn't know us, is contrary to all men.
That's well said, brother. That's well said. You're right.
He's just contrary to all men. Andrew Bourne have recently said that we were sneaking around his house, that the apostles was at his house, listening through his door and peeking in his windows. I don't know who he thinks he is. I don't know where he lives. Somewhere around here, I'm told. I don't know where he lives. I haven't looked it up. I don't care where he lives, and I'll assure you that that's an imagination.
Yes, sir.
He talked about his gun that he had. The next time we sneak up to his house, he was going to shoot us. We've never been there. Robert Bourne, his father, who fell away, became involved in illicit relationships, suddenly has all the wisdom in exposing us. Amazing. David Byler, of which his family is here, that are love and have high respect amongst us. His wife Lauren, who is a daughter to Robert Bourne. Had one problem. First of all, I'll say that if there's ever a beautiful royal family, it's the Byler family. I'd be proud to be a Byler. Sister, I appreciate your hand going up. You should just do that. I'd be proud of Brother Daniel. If he was my daddy, I'd be proud to have him as my daddy. These young people had one problem. It's that 3-word problem. After sneaking off into private motel rooms, after the inability to even be faithful to one another in that sneaking, it's the truth. They leave saying we're a cult. This is the truth. And I could go on and on. I'm purposely not. I'm just touching. A young man named Stephen Cox, of which his family is also amongst us, that are a good family, solid, love the Lord, highly respected. Is probably a sociopath liar, sexually deluded, has been kicked out of every school except ours, and we should have, but we just didn't, and have went away making up stories about those who loved him and tried to help him. Stories that were beyond even the law, the limit of the law, Insomuch that some of the brethren got a lawyer to send him a letter and said, if you keep this up, we'll see you in court. Because it was disgusting. Not only is it not true here, it may be true there. John and Janet DeGraff and Reed, some of the biggest fakes that I know. They have lived a life and made money on the assumption or on the presentation of a good family. They have portrayed themselves as a happy family, though I happen to know the behind scenes that it's not true.
That's right.
They've done it for money, primarily. Primarily. They do not know how to have personal relationships. They have none. And still not. Not with us and not anybody else. They only have buddy relationships. They have fallen away totally in every way, changed completely, went the way of the world and entirely, although they're not really very good worldlians. I contacted just in the last 2 or 3 days his father just to ask him if he was happy with the fruits of his labors concerning his children, and he assures me that he is. James DeGraff and Reed, not to give up personal information, but lived in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and couldn't get along with Brother O'Shea on anything. If you said the sky was blue, he would debate that. If the grass was green, that was in question. He finally fell away in an illicit relationship, moved away, and got married for the second time. He comes back and sits in judgment of things that have happened while he was gone. Jeremy Abbott tried to run off with a 17-year-old exactly half his age. That was condoned by his brother-in-law, John DeGraff and Reed. When we laid judgment on that, all of a sudden he became a religious leader. Viola Miller was a loose woman. We did all we could to help her and her family, of which she was boss. Her husband, Sam, is truly oppressed. Truly. While they were married and professing godliness, on 2 occasions, she behaved extremely inappropriate with young black men amongst us. And she goes away, inviting all the young men to her house for deliverance. This is the truth. And fills the internet about how bad we are. Now, if you think this is too much, we can come back tonight and I give you a lot more. I am withholding. I am being reserved. Very much reserved. These are lewd fellers of the baser sort, setting in judgment of holy men and women who is striving to serve the Lord the best we know how. Filling the internet. And the moment someone replies on the internet like that ain't true, and then all of a sudden I get calls, you all shouldn't be fighting back. Put down your arms. That happened to me this week. I got that call, well, last week. Put down your arms. Put down your arms. Let's take a cool approach. And I say, what do you mean? You're the one screaming and saying all kinds of lies about us that aren't true. And all of a sudden, one of our sisters just put out a little thing and said, no, this ain't true. This is the way it really is. And all of a sudden, we're the bad ones. I say, you hypocrite. And I will say we've just begun, because I might not be good on Facebook, but we got some folks in here that is. And if you want to deceive the hearts and the minds of individuals, and you want to wrap and take away our young people to your kind of lifestyle, then the fight's on. No bars on our doors. If our young people want to leave, they can just leave. There ain't nothing we can do about that. We encourage them not to and plead with them not to. And when they decide to do it, tell them, well, if you ever want to get right, you know where to come. But to have you to entice them to give up their purity, to throw away their chance even in this life, to destroy their future in this life, let alone in the life to come, then nah. And I'm supposed to sit back and I'm supposed to be so kind that even the devil is sweet. Now, this is a different kind of message. I know. I think it's very good. I think it's very moderate. Any other names that I have named, they all belong together. They are, in fact, together. For if one of them would denounce the other, they would receive the wrath that's directed to us. They would receive the wrath directed to them, and that they won't do. May God bless you. I love this holy way. I love you. And you love me. What a terrible situation we are in. Oh, one more point I wanted to make. All of these, every one of them, have one thing in common. They are absolutely racist.
Yes, brother. Well, all right. Well,
and they don't like black people.
And I have not seen God edified since the singing stopped.
I understand, sir. You don't know.
You have more of the world. I absolutely believe there's more of the world. I haven't heard one thing come out of that pulpit since you stepped up there that glorified God.
We've been nice to you, and I'm asking that you can talk to us later if you want. That's fine.
Very good.
I saw the individual was having a hard time during the whole time. It's okay. That's the Northern Indiana thing. These individuals are racist.
They are racist.
And they don't like, not only they don't like black people, but they don't like black people in power.
That's right. Just real quick. This is Brother Ray's message. I'm not trying to do anything. But do you know when people really start to have a problem? When you start to say, that's racist. That gentleman started to have a problem when he said that's racist. And it does glorify God to call out racism. That is the essence of godliness, to call out wrong. And I, for one, am thrilled. Brother Ray was so temperate. There's some things I'm not going to say because he didn't and it's his message. But there's some people that he did not mention that are racist. They don't like black people in power. And this is not true for all of Northern Indiana.
No.
There's some good people in Northern Indiana. But there is an atmosphere in Northern Indiana that does not like black people in power and that does not want to have religious people called out. Everybody wants to be conservative and nice. And if they perceive that you're not nice, then they would say that that's not godly. There are times where God requires for
Requires.
someone
Requires.
to get a whipping.
That's right, brother. Yes, sir.
There is no father that does not require that. And I'm not going to take up much more of your time except to say that that gentleman, I don't know who he was, I'm calling him gentleman by I'm being nice. That gentleman is an example of someone.
Actually proved our point.
Yes, he's an example of someone that verifies this message. Any reasonable person would have no issues with anything that was said. The Bible was referred to, there was logical progression of thought, and perhaps the gentleman just couldn't follow it. Even in this gentleman's barbaric disruption, and I didn't want to disrupt because our chief apostle's up here. Even in his barbaric disruption, our chief apostle showed the Spirit of Christ.
That's right. That's right.
Now, one of the reasons he's the chief apostle is because he has more of the Spirit of Christ than me. Because I wouldn't have shown that much Spirit of Christ to that man. I'd have been like, security, you may dismiss this spirit of the devil, Beelzebub, Belial, the baser sort. You are dismissed. But that's one of the reasons why he's chief. He's one of the most loving men that I've ever met in all of God's world. I'm not just saying that because he has to be that to deal with me. He has to be that to deal with me. And I'm very thankful for him. I'm thankful for the Church of God. I'm glad for all of you. And Northern Indiana is actually in trouble and has the biggest blessing that it's ever known.
That's right. That's right.
And that is that the Church of God is here.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you to do something a little strange. I'd like to ask you one more time to give a hand clap of praise to God for him.
Being a Christian's not boring. Thank God it has some excitements to it. Thank God to be in church. Amen. All right. Thank you so much for your time. We love you, and Lord bless you.